All right. Let's see. Oh man, I'm terrible at intros.
It's your channel, man.
All right. Welcome to ZanderZrantZ. Today we'll be talking about Dragon Ball Super Broly, the movie, and
Yeah.
joining us is Grim.
Grim here. What's up?
So we'll start off with our general impression,
hmm
and then we will maybe go to spoilers, not sure, and then we'll probably in there we will talk about our general knowledge of the series, and then at the end
hmm
we'll talk about what we would like to see in a Dragon Ball movie.
All right, sounds good.
All right, I guess I'll start off with my general impression. I think if you are somebody that wants a cool fight scene and for the most part animated pretty amazingly, it's probably the best fight Dragon Ball movie.
hmm
Yeah, so I'd recommend it on those points. If you're watching a Dragon Ball movie, I'm assuming you know what you're getting into. And which is a little surprising. You don't really need to know too much about the backstory because they most of the movie is about different characters.
Yeah, they don't go too much in the backstory, but it's just they do tell quite a bit just to reintroduce the characters briefly. For those, like you said, like those who already know it, they don't really need to know the backstory because the movie already touches that. But they do it well. It's brief, but it's not very rushed either.
Yeah, I
Um,
I think they basically tell a retcon origin story for most of the characters, so you have some level of motivation and understanding of where they are before they fight. Do you have any other general thoughts?
what you said about animation, I actually, yeah, totally agree that the animation was just amazing in this movie. I guess considering that it was an $8 million budget, but I'm not sure what a decent budget it would be for an animated movie, but that the animation was just incredible. But I think it had to do with the team. I mean, the new art director for that movie, who, if I can recall, Ogura was taking over the project. I think it did it wonderfully. It was very nostalgic too. And I think that's just my personal opinion. I think it was better than the Dragon Ball Z series. As much it was a new take, but I did see more detail in the fighting scenes. There was CG animation in there, but I mean that was something minor, but I have to agree that the animation was really great in this movie.
Yeah, for this movie they basically did a new art style, and I
hmm
am assuming the art style they also did because I think Pokemon or the new redesign of Pokemon has a similar art style.
hmm
So I think they probably did it because it's easier to animate and animate a lot more fluid. That's just as an assumption on my part. There's a one YouTuber that I know that if that's true and he found information about it, I'm sure he would talk about it.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think that's why they went to the simpler route to animate it easier. It is a lot simpler. It kind of did take me back to the earlier style of Dragon Ball, which it was a lot simpler, but the animation was a lot more detailed and, like you said, fluid. So I agree. I mean, one way to know is to actually read the studio's plan and direction through interviews and through the making of the movie itself. But I think you're pretty spot on with that. I wouldn't argue.
Yeah, I think part of the design is that they were clearly trying to harken back to like how Goku looked like when he started in Z. Like it clearly had like that look to him.
hmm
But yeah, as you mentioned earlier, the gripe, at least for me, is that they have a few scenes of the basically PS3 era graphics fighting game,
Yeah,
which is funny
yeah.
to me because Dragon Ball Fighters, the new game, looks
hmm
better than what they did in the movie. Just hilarious. They should have had that team just to make their CG scene. Although in the Gogeta fight, it was fine
Uh-huh.
because of how contextually how it happened. But in the other fight that when that came up, it wasn't as good because it just changed to CG for no reason.
I totally agree with that. I thought that was funny because I don't know why they degraded that part by adding that CG. That you can totally tell the transition. I'm like, what? It went from really badass to then kind of not robotic, but like just very it didn't really flow well for those that actually can nitpick. I totally agree. I wish they'd gotten the team that did the game better, that their graphics were a lot better and they should have integrated that in the movie. Like, I don't know why they didn't do that. I guess maybe they just wanted a new creative route. I'm not sure why they did that, but it was weird. I did not like that part. Sadly, I love the rest of the animation, but sadly that part wasn't very great.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue in both the other, I guess, after Z movies,
Yeah.
Battle of Gods and what was the other one? The
And Resurrection
Resurrection
Frieza.
F. Yeah. So both of those also had CGI scenes in there
Yeah.
that were
Hmm.
very similar. The difference is that their animation is different there. I will say that the issue with Super in general is
Hmm.
that there's no stakes.
Yeah.
It's just, well, there's a god there,
Hmm.
and he's way more powerful than Goku. So, like, if the universe is in peril, that god is gonna stop it, no matter what.
Hmm.
Even though this tries to frame it as, oh no, Goku has to stop Broly from destroying the multiverse or whatever it is. But the
Yeah.
problem is, I thought from the trailers that those gods weren't going to be in the movie, or like they were just going to be in the beginning of the movie and they weren't
Hmm.
going to go with them. So at the very minimum, they weren't like literally right there.
Hmm.
But in this case, one of the gods was literally right there. So it kind of takes out the tension. But in general, you never felt like anybody was in danger. I guess except for Broly's dad. I guess that's like the
Yeah.
only person you actually felt like danger.
Mhm.
And I guess at this point it will be light spoilers, but I guess just give your final general point. What do you recommend it? I already said that mine's earlier, so
Yeah, actually, I think they did that on purpose just because maybe they were trying to hint that, okay, Brawly's this new powerful character, but to not put any stakes kind of gave away the intention with Brawly, like, that he's going to be the next maybe rival or team member to Goku's team. I think they did that on purpose, intentionally, not adding stakes in there. That's just my opinion. I think that's why they did that.
well, the thing is, when I watched Battle of Gods,
Yeah.
there was a stake in there. Like that was the
Mhm.
only one that felt like, oh no, you have this new guy that's completely outclassed Goku and stuff, and he's gonna destroy the Earth and everybody in it. And that was the only time you felt that. But then, he changed his mind or whatever. And then when you watch the Resurrection F, you're like, oh, they're literally there. Spoilers for Resurrection F, I guess. It's like Frieza blew up the entire planet and they just rewound the time. So
Yeah.
they can do that. So it's like, oh, there's literally no stakes in this movie.
Mm.
That's why it's like, oh, you want a cool action slot? And I'll say, and this is basically spoilers at this point, where obviously the way they retcon Broly into this
Mhm.
movie makes him have way more longevity. From one of the Dragon Ball YouTubers I watch, Geekdom 101 or something, like he mentioned something like the original draft of this before Toriyama put in his personality stuff in there.
Mhm.
Broly was very different, and then he changed it a lot to make him a lot more friendlier and actually you relate to him. Which he would say, yeah, Broly's basically the main character in this movie, which is
Yeah.
obviously the smartest thing you can do for this movie, especially when it's literally called Broly. Even though I never liked the old Broly,
Really?
this dumb guy that just says Kakara all the time.
Uh-huh.
I just didn't care. And I feel like the biggest misstep in this new one, I guess, is the difference in opinion type of misstep. Basically, how Broly's dad dies.
Yeah.
It's like the way it was set up was clearly meant to be that Broly's dad learned something from this encounter.
Mhm.
He did fulfill his arc. I would say he's the one that actually has a character arc because Broly does not have a character arc. Paragus,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, to King Vegeta, oh, you're exiling my son because you're jealous of him. And then Vegeta, I guess, threw out a line saying that, oh, he will be a danger to the world. And then his dad never believed that until right before he dies, he realized that, oh no, maybe King Vegeta was right. Yeah, and then Frieza just kills him because, oh, he needs Broly to transform into Super Saiyan.
Yeah. No, I have to agree with that. That's true.
And they obviously even did it as an anticlimax because Frieda's like, oh no, a stray shot killed your dad. Which, I guess it's funny, but it kind of like kills the tension. I feel like it's like a modern anime issue. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but in Gundam Seed Destiny, they have like a whole new crew of people, and then you're supposed to care about them, but then they bring in the original crew, and they basically, the crew you were following, they end up being the bad guys, but the writing was still acting like they're the good guys, so you just have them clash with the other good guys, the
Mm-hmm.
ones you cared about before, and then the new people just end miserably. They all lose. Apparently Japan loves Gundam Seed Destiny, but most of America hated it. And I kind of had a little bit of that feeling here, where it's just like, well, we still need Goku and stuff to win. The good thing is at the very end that Goku kind of amends things
Yeah.
with Broly, kind of makes it okay, but it still feels weird if you're just watching this movie and you don't have any context to anything else. Do you have any comments on that, or?
Actually, I feel conflicted with that. I do understand that part where there is context lacking in very the modern animes. I mean, I don't watch as much animes as I could to have a solid opinion on it. I've seen a few though where I can see what you're touching at to actually express that. I've taken this storytelling class and they were actually discussing that, and you're right on point. I'm very surprised, but it said through like one of the great writers out there, like what was his name? Campbell, something Campbell.
Joseph Campbell, yes.
Joseph Campbell, yeah, he exactly says that heroes need to have stakes, which is why people can personally affiliate with them. So yeah, I agree in that point. But then also, I actually do like Broly's character and his tragic story, despite he lacks a story arc. I just like that he doesn't have like the, actually quoting this from an article I read in Vox Media, that he doesn't have the mental capacity to like to understand fighting for sport or anything other than survival, which I like that take in his character. Because it expresses this opinion from James Baldwin. The quote says that most dangerous creation of any society is the man who has nothing to lose. I think that really is the essence of that truth. But at the same time, like you're right about characters having that, I guess you could say, down to earth, and that you want to care about that character, but it's hard because of set context and other factors that are lacking
Yeah.
in storytelling.
Yeah, apparently, from that Geekdom 101 guy, he mentioned that the original draft
Yeah.
of this movie was 3 hours long,
Oh, wow.
which would explain a lot.
Uh-huh.
Because Broly's not just the only main character, obviously. I mean, Paragon, as we mentioned before.
Yeah.
King Vegeta has a thing, but he basically disappeared. And then Bardock, Goku's dad.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one that got the most shaft is Bardock, considering they completely retconned him. I think what they have in there is fine, but I felt like they needed to expand on it more for it to matter, because if you don't, then you basically are just relying on prior knowledge of him. But even though that knowledge is retcon, so it doesn't really make sense.
True. True. Yeah. I think about that.
Yeah, so it's like they didn't have. I mean, it's like, think about it, right? The Bardock special is just entirely focused on Bardock, and then I'm assuming the original Broly movie, is just focused on Broly, even though
Yeah.
they're shorter than these. But you crammed in basically 3 stories.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Frieza's story too, along with the stuff that's currently happening into it. In that sense, yeah, they did the best they could. This is probably the best compromise. And apparently this is the longest Dragon Ball movie,
Oh.
which shouldn't be shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously had to cut a lot to make this movie work for running time wise,
Yeah.
which sucks. I wouldn't have mind having a 3 hour epic,
I agree. Yeah, I actually wish it was longer. Like I felt it could have been longer because it was pretty good, but they probably
Yeah.
had more
Yeah,
content.
and I was surprised by the fight, because I would have assumed that they would have fought Super Saiyan Blue the
Mhm.
most,
Yeah.
but Vegeta probably fought him the most in his base form, and
Yeah.
and which shouldn't be shocking. The Gogeta stuff is the highlight, and the problem with that, partly it was way too fast. There was so much going on screen. It was like blink you miss it. I felt like all the trailers just spoiled it. Spoiled all the key moments in it. In that thing. Like literally the only thing they didn't show is the final Kamehameha he does.
Yeah.
They cut out everything in between it in the trailer, but
Which is why I avoided the trailers while they were trying to, advertise the movie. I avoided that completely. I did not want to see anything.
yeah, so like I watched all the trailer and stuff, I'm like, I basically saw the whole movie.
Yeah.
Even the Brara stuff or like the Paragus, none of that stuff really added that much to
Mhm.
like the trailer,
Mhm.
the clips notes. And that's where the problem is because they didn't go in depth enough, I feel like.
Mhm.
But obviously, whatever, it's a movie. And incidentally, story wise, it is probably better than most of the other movies. Have you watched all the Dragon Ball movies or remember it?
Yeah, I've actually have seen all of them. It just has been a long while since I've seen it. This has
Yeah.
probably been like a couple years back that I've seen them, so I can't. My memory's vague without it, so I can't really reminisce and reflect on the past movies.
Do you remember which one was the one you liked the most?
No, honestly, I have to go back and rewatch the movies because I don't remember much.
Because the one I remember the most is probably because I actually had it on VHS.
Yeah.
I think it was the first movie because I remember a lot of the scenes in that first Dragon Ball opening
Yeah.
that they, was actually in the first movie. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just in the series,
Mhm.
but I realized looking back later, I was like, oh yeah, most of that was from the first movie.
Mhm.
I think it's a Garlic Jr. I barely remember it, but I remember liking it because it felt like it was like a martial arts movie.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, they kidnap a Gohan and then for the Dragon Balls or something, and then he had to go rescue them.
Yeah.
And I might be blurring it. Might be the second one because I think Gohan after he trained with Piccolo,
Mhm.
and that one had like a oh Piccolo was like being mind controlled, and then Goku had to like fight like some mecha thing. Like I remember that being kind of intense too because you cared about Piccolo and you didn't want to kill him, but then he was kind of being evil, but not really because he's being mind controlled. And Gohan actually cared about him. It actually like felt like there was tension and stuff in those,
Yeah.
at least those first two movies. Like it felt like Goku was could actually lose to these people.
Oh, I don't remember that part, but okay. Yeah, I really have to rewatch those movies.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember in the opening, there was like some guy that was running on the wall and he was using a sword, like he was flinging a sword around. Like that was one of
Mm,
in the opening.
mhm.
Yeah, do you have any other points on the Broly or Dragon Ball movies in general?
For Broly, just because I mean my memory's fresh on that movie, and I actually just enjoyed it. I just went in there just to see the fight. Honestly, it's just see Broly new in action and recon and everything. I have to add that I do like bits and pieces of the story. Again, we'll go back to that concept. Like I really like that scene where Goku's jumping like up and down, like completely in his zenful self, and then it gets a quick transition to Brawly, who's like just screaming, mad with rage, and the camera shoots between both characters. It's like both polar opposites, like night and day. Like this guy's just mad with rage, where he gets his strength from, and then Goku is just like zen and peaceful, like completely confident in himself, and that's where he gets his strength from. I thought that was pretty interesting, and that out of all the scenes that actually spoke more to me than anything. It was funny, that contrast.
Yeah, I think well, first of all, that was the first teaser. Was basically that.
Yeah.
From what the Geekdom 101 guy mentioned, is that that thing Goku did
Hmm.
is an actual martial arts warm up,
Okay.
which is interesting because he said that Goku had never really actually done real martial arts, so it's interesting.
Okay.
I kind of wish they were in their super outfits.
Hmm.
Like it's a little weird that they're in their Dragon Ball Z outfits
Hmm.
when it's called Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they do that. Like I don't understand why in Super they decided that they want to do that for Vegito, even though when they finally reviewed the Vegito version that is in the Super outfit,
Hmm.
I like that. That actually made sense for the Vegito Blue
Hmm.
than it more that than it did the normal outfit with
Hmm.
Vegito Blue. But yeah,
I have nothing to add
um,
with that. But
but obviously I wish it was Vegito and not Gogeta.
hmm.
I don't know. Do you have any preference on that?
uh I actually don't have preference. I mean, I like both Gogeta and Vegito, but I honestly never really understood the difference. It's just the difference in character and obviously the hair. But I mean, I'm not a much of a fan. I'm trying to get into the Dragon Ball franchise as much as I can as anyone, school and everything. But what is the difference between Vegito and Gogeta? Like,
Well, Super. screwed it up. And this is the segment of a bunch of the things I don't like about Super.
Yeah.
Super retcon Vegito. That's the worst thing. Like it was so annoying to me because I heard about this, so I didn't watch it. But I know because I watch that Geekum 101 guy sometimes, and he talks about predictions and stuff. Literally, you saw the King Kais that were fused before, and they were unfused in Super, and they were like, yes, we use the Super Dragon Balls or the normal Dragon Balls to unfuse themselves. So they set it up that you can unfuse yourself. So why in the world did they retcon Vegito saying that he can only last an hour? But then they did the worst thing ever by basically repeating the fight of Gogeta in GT, where he just ran out of energy and split early. Like that's even worse than having the hour timeline. Like at least if it's an hour, then he can go full power, whatever it is. That's fine. But he didn't, and then he just split, and then you had Trunks like summoning a spirit bomb out of nowhere. Makes no sense. There was no setup for it. If like Boo got killed by a spirit bomb, that 4 planet of people, including like the entire heaven, to take to kill Boo, there's no way that with like 100 people left on Future Trunks world that he can kill this guy that's way stronger than Boo. It's just so annoying, And obviously, Super's animation is just terrible. I heard it got better than that, and actually, I heard from one of the guys that been watching it the entire time. You can tell me otherwise. Like the Vegito fight was probably the best fight up until that point.
Oh wow.
That makes it even worse. It's just like he barely did anything. Like he punched a few times. I think he did the beam thing. He did a final Kamehameha. He did like the teleport punch, and I think he did like 2 more other like punch things or kick things. That was it.
Oh, I didn't even know that, but I agree. Yeah, Dragon Ball Super just went down in its animation. But I heard that because they had animators that were just barely new to the market, and all of their best freelance artists were out doing other projects.
Digibro has mentioned that Toei is notorious for cost-cutting measures. They do not care about quality, which is why Super looked the way it looked. Like, and I feel like Dragon Ball Z, like the animation was super limited and stuff too, but I felt like it still looked better. The Dragon Ball Z animation from 1980s still looks better than Dragon Ball Super. That's terrible.
It's true, yeah. That's terrible.
This other guy named Endless Jess, he mentioned that the one thing that Super does better than Z does, at least for the 2 tournaments, is that he said the problem with Z was that it was just power scaling. It was just always, oh, whatever, I reached a new level of power. It wasn't like that interesting. But in Super, I guess Goku and Vegeta has to deal with people that have tricks. So they have to find ways around it, like hit that time freezes. But then you have the big bad guy, Jiren, and he's just punched hard. So I don't know. I don't know about that. And that Broly wannabe girl, like she's just punch hard, from what I can tell. I mean, do you disagree with that or?
Actually, I disagree and agree. Well, I have to agree with they do a different take on the Tournament of Power. They they actually show how Goku and Vegeta, in the sense, have honorable ways of fighting. They're not the type of fighters where okay, anything goes. They always fight fair. And in the Tournament of Power, that just it exposes that where they're not used to, like you said, tricks and people with different types of power, like the time stop from Hit and the female opposite of Broly, and then like the immense power that she's able to reach in a certain amount of time. Yeah, that's completely new for them. They do come out successful, but I think that yeah, you're right. They do it differently, and the Tournament of Power was just really exciting. It's just how well they adapt to the change and how they can exceed their fighting skills and their, you could say their fighters' wittiness. Not the right word, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the biggest issue I have with Super is story. Is that especially when you just mentioned that Vegeta? It's like, remember what Vegeta did in the Boo saga? He blew up an entire stadium of people. Like I think it's 2 years ago now. I watched the original Dragon Ball, and then I watched Kai. A lot of people complain, right, that it should have ended with Cell. I highly disagree because my favorite character is Vegito, and you wouldn't have Vegito. But when you rewatch it, yeah, Vegeta's arc didn't end in Cell. I
No.
mean, you could say it ended because actually they did a little bit of a retcon.
Mm-hmm.
After Goku died,
Mm-hmm.
Vegeta actually said he would never fight again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that was not the case.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think it was great in the Buu saga where it's just like, yeah, Vegeta is still a maniac. He still wants to fight Goku. That's the entire plot since introducing Vegeta and becoming basically the main character. He was never satisfied with beating Goku. That's why in the Buu saga, he was willing to blow an entire stadium of people to get Goku to fight him. So at the very end of the Buu saga, where Vegeta seeing Goku in Super Saiyan 3 form fighting Buu
Mm-hmm.
and him giving the speech that saying like, "Oh, you're the best Kakarot," that completed his arc.
Mm-hmm.
And like doing anything after that is kind of lame in terms of storytelling. That's why it's like, oh, it's like a fun movie like Broly. Even though like it was like he went ridiculous power scaling, it's just like, what the heck is this? Whatever, it's fun. But I'm annoyed if I have to watch an entire series where like, oh my gosh, like this writing is terrible, especially what they did with Gohan.
Yeah.
It's just like, are you gonna make him good or not? Gohan was supposed to be the most powerful character in Z. He's technically the most powerful character, unfused character, which ironically, now I think about it, like, I mean, I guess Vegeta isn't that smart either,
Mm-hmm.
but Vegeta, like, he could have literally just teleported. Goku even said, like, oh, you wanted to resurrect them so you can get Gohan and Gotenks to come fight Buu. And he's like, no, that's not what I want. I want the Spirit Bomb, which is kind of weird. But Gohan could probably beat Kid Buu.
Yeah.
If Goku felt like he could beat him in Super Saiyan 3 form, if it's full power, then I think Gohan's more powerful than him. I mean, unless it's between the time that Gohan fought him and the time that Goku fights Kid Buu,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe Goku got a lot more stronger,
Mm-hmm.
which is possible, but it didn't seem like it. Unlike in Super, before Vegito fight,
Yeah.
is that Goku and Vegeta really sucked, and then they got a little better. In the same fight, they like powered up like crazy, which makes zero sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't entirely make zero sense when you look at the Frieza saga. Like, you have to damage me to like almost near death so I can get more powerful. So that makes sense. But from what I recall, that doesn't really happen in that fight,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, you're right.
It's just all of a sudden it got more powerful. And then it's just like, really don't care about storytelling. Like, I would have assumed Gohan would have learned from his mistake after the Buu saga.
Yeah.
He would have realized, maybe
Agree.
I should train. Maybe I like even a little bit,
Yeah.
right? At least stay the same power level. But he didn't. And it's just like he's what, Resurrection F, like Frieza just killed him in one hit.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world? There's no way. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous. But yeah, and then it's just so lame. I was just like, that's why I'm just like, oh, you can be like Hunter x Hunter where you're like, oh, it's tactics and whatever, but I feel like there's no story here. There's no personal story here with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Personal characters, yeah, it is lacking, even though they kind of do bits and pieces, but they're loose. And no, you're right. I did feel like, I honestly, I mean, my personal time, I want to be rational and just watch like, powerful fighters go at each other and just, I don't care about story. I mean, that part's just awesome. But yeah, I have to say, like, you can only watch so much for for the power, for the fighting and whatnot. But you do essentially want backstory and something you can personally relate to and actually care for the characters. Yeah, Super kind of missed that somehow. I guess it was just probably just for marketing and just, oh, let's revive the Dragon Ball series and just see how much money we can make. I actually have no argument against that. You're completely right. I can't have no way to defend that or argue against that.
The rumor is that they're trying to shove Kid Buu back in.
Oh,
Yeah. Man, you're just ruining Z more and more. You ruined Gohan's character by making him a complete joke now. I thought he would like do something in the Tournament of Power, but he basically did nothing. I still watch Broly. That did have something in it. It wasn't just nothing.
mm-hmm.
I would be so bored if they didn't have any character development in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that's why I barely watched the Resurrection F
Mm-hmm.
one. Like, I like Battle of Gods because it was like, oh, it was like forever since we've seen these characters. And they were just goofing off for the most part. So it's like, oh, that's fun, Like, one of the favorite parts of Dragon Ball Z is them goofing off. It's like seeing these guys being goofballs, which is basically what Battle of
Battle of
Gods
Gods
was.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, so sorry. You were asking the difference between Vegito and Gogeta.
Yeah, you totally like went on a tangent on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted to address Super. Well, that's why you have a confusion
Yeah.
because of what Super did.
Okay.
So originally, before Super, Vegito is permanent. Going into Buu is what defused them. Like, they don't know why. Goku said, oh, it might be because something in Buu or something. Like, that's just his guess.
Mm-hmm.
That was fine because you needed to defuse them, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was obvious in the Buu fight that he could totally destroy him. You know, he could easily kill Buu if he wanted to. But Vegito was trying to save his friends, and that was why he was prolonging the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Although in the original manga, it wasn't actually that long. It wasn't like 4 episodes long. That's why they can excuse that. Oh, it's been an hour, which is the new thing. Oh, you defuse after an hour. Gogeta in the original movie, he can only last for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the original movie, when he became Gogeta, he basically like punched him like 3 times and then killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wasn't messing around. I mean, at least that's the impression that you got. That's the difference between people think of, why people like or misinterpret what Vegito was doing.
Mm-hmm.
They said, oh, Vegito was goofing around and he got eaten or whatever. But no, he was goofing around because he knew he could totally crush this guy. He was trying to save the people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why he was doing that, or else he could easily kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew exactly what was going on, unlike Gohan, who got absorbed. Vegito knew exactly what he was going to do. And like Vegito, because of that, it's that as people say, he's more like Vegeta. I think it's more like, yeah, he seems cocky and stuff, but he has a plan.
Yeah.
And then Gogeta is more like, no nonsense. I'm just gonna kill you.
Oh, I see.
I'm just gonna beat you and kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna waste time, especially when he has a 30-minute time limit or whatever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with Super and this Broly movie, it kind of muddled those two problems because Gogeta kind of acts like Vegito a little bit.
Yeah.
In the Broly movie, except he wasn't screwing around. He was clearly being very intentional with what he was doing, and he obviously was about to finish him off.
Okay.
Finish Broly off.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great that they added, like, because we never really seen that many ki blasts. That was the other difference, is that Gogeta, like, he had a completely unique move, which they showed here and felt like a little underwhelming because it wasn't even like the second to last blast he used. It was the cool rainbow looking bubble thing. That was like completely unique move. Gogeta didn't use Goku or Vegeta's moves, but Vegito, at least in the original Dragon Ball Z, used mostly Vegeta's moves.
Yeah.
He used a combination of Big Bang and Final Flash, but in the manga, he actually didn't use any of those moves. He did the 5-finger blast, and then he did the beam thing, and then he did like ki blast stuff, but he didn't do anything else besides that. And that one thing where he just blew up Boo's tail or whatever. But in the anime, like, he used like a weird Kamehameha Big Bang combination.
Yeah.
And like he used like Big Bang and Final Flash combined with one hand, which I really was disappointed that it wasn't in Dragon Ball FighterZ Z. I always thought that was so cool because it's just like, he's just using one hand and did so much devastation with it.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's Final Kamehameha that he uses in Super. Now it's canon. It's a little disappointing. It's just a giant blast with zigzag lines on it. That's not nearly as impressive to me. Yeah, but Gogeta, at least him being like tossing like 1 billion ki blasts.
Yeah.
Like, that's completely different than what Vegito does, which is really cool. Like, the disappointment is that he was starting to use a Kamehameha. And he just used a normal Kamehameha, so it's just like, oh, well, I guess that's, for the most part, those are the differences. And I think most people just like his design, though. They just like him not having a shirt.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't understand that. I'm just like, he's just wearing a dumb-looking vest thing.
Well, he got to show off his muscles. I think that's what people like about it. And yeah. And who do you actually personally like, Vegito or Gogeta?
Vegito, of course. The real canon, not the stupid Super or the movies canon now, that muddied him. But the biggest asset is that the Supreme Kai in Z, he said that, oh, the fusion dance, that's garbage.
Yeah.
The Patar earrings are 3 times fold more powerful, and it's permanent. Vegito is just straight up more powerful, and he doesn't defuse. other than I guess when you're in Boo and now the retcon,
Mm-hmm.
and Gogeta can last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So technically he's weaker, but now with the retcon, and apparently like they even had an official statement. They basically said they're equal in power.
Yeah. Just to settle the argument.
Super, you ruined everything cool about Vegito. And now people literally just think that he's somebody that, especially in Super, he literally couldn't finish the job. Like, if you wanted Trunks to beat him or whatever, like, you could have wrote around that. You could have wrote, like, he literally was like, let me finish him, that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, make him preoccupied with something else.
Mm-hmm.
They set up that you can defuse him with the Super Dragon Balls. So there was no point in having that time limit other than to make him weaker so they can use him later. Like, have you seen the Dragon Ball Heroes?
No, actually, I haven't seen Dragon Ball Heroes though.
Yeah, the Dragon Ball Heroes is terrible because it's like a promotion, and they had Vegito in the new clothes, which looks cool, and then he used Kaioken along with Blue, and he just got whooped. Totally lost.
Oh,
And then you had Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, and he totally beat that guy.
Oh my god. Well, I
It's
mean,
just like, that makes no sense.
but I guess they just do it essentially just for. Ultimately, we know it's just for business, and
Yeah, it's just like, and I just hate that when I argue with some of the people, they're just like, yeah, he's better now, and it's just like, oh my, because they ruined the entire original canon. That's why.
Yeah.
Gohan's supposed to be the strongest character. He's just a total punk now.
Actually, yeah.
Gohan was like the second, basically in Z, the two main characters is Vegeta and Gohan. Goku didn't change.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Goku was basically the Deus Ex Machina. He always had to be kept away till he can come and save the day. But Gohan, especially in the beginning of Z, and that's what they broke it to mark Z, is Gohan.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people said it should have ended with Cell, because they felt like that's where Gohan's arc ended.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of just did him a disservice in Boo. But I felt like that was fine, what they did with Boo. But it's just after that was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But people would call in like, oh, that last thing in Z, flash forward. Oh, you see Gohan, he's in his glasses. He clearly hasn't trained. I mean, you can make that assumption, but it's still lame. Apparently, behind the scenes, they weren't sure what they were going to do with Gohan.
Mm-hmm.
That's what those geek guys said, is that he may or may not have had Gohan actually accomplish something, and they ultimately decided not to. So that's what happened in Super.
Oh, okay.
That's why I actually tried to do stuff, and he looked like he was going somewhere, and then he didn't.
Wow. That's actually another disservice for Gohan's character, honestly.
But yeah. Anyways, is there anything else?
So I wanted to touch back on how stories are lacking connection with viewers, personal level for people. So which character do you personally affiliate yourself in the Dragon Ball series?
As actually when I was talking with the other guy, because I was making the argument about characters, like, what are you talking about? In Z, like, basically it's Vegeta and Gohan. Like, all the other characters, like, don't really change or don't really whatever. Like, that kind of is true, but it's more like the problem, it's like the Piccolo problem.
Mm-hmm.
Piccolo was actually interesting, and then they kind of just stopped the development after a while, and they didn't really know what to do with him. And that's basically what happened to all the Z fighters. With Yamcha, and he's just a punching bag, obviously. But have you seen the original Dragon Ball?
I have not seen the original Dragon Ball, believe it or not.
So, have you seen Hunter x Hunter?
Hunter x Hunter, I have, but like I said, it's been years.
So, Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, is actually very similar to Hunter x Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Hunter x Hunter clearly copied from Dragon Ball. Kind of similar.
Oh, okay.
Dragon Ball started off with Goku and Bulma, a hunt for the Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
Basically, when they introduced Master Roshi training Goku and Krillin, that's when the tournament stuff started coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, Tien was actually like big bad guy, and he would fight dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Like Yamcha was like out, but he still went in and broke his knees. Mm-hmm. He was on the other school that was a rival to Master Roshi's school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it actually felt like there were stakes, and they had to deal with different things. Tien's what's his Chaozu had like psychic powers?
Yeah, something like that.
It's weird that he didn't use it after in Z at all. Like he totally like paralyzed Goku.
Uh-huh.
Like Goku couldn't move.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like weird stuff like that was happening in Dragon Ball. You had like some level of magic stuff. He fought like some vampire and dead guy. It was pretty interesting. It was like watching a martial arts movie basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was mentioning the first Z movie. That was a really fun adventure. Like I really liked the Dragon Ball. And then Dragon Ball Z is when it's shipped to Goku becoming an alien, because that wasn't the case before that. So, and that became kind of Gohan's story, and then eventually Vegeta's story. But basically, a Piccolo's arc
Mm-hmm.
in the original Dragon Ball, that was the start of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Like, technically. Because that arc was copy and paste for Vegeta, copy and paste for Frieza, copy and paste for Cell, copy and paste for Buu. Basically, it became that story over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Piccolo, yeah, he like killed Master Roshi. He killed like Krillin, I think. Like he killed like a bunch of people. He was like a real threat. Like he was the first one that he was gonna blow up the entire planet. He did like a beam like directly onto the tournament ground, which would blow up the planet, and Goku had to stop him. Oh, and also Goku couldn't fly the entire time in Dragon Ball. That was actually a special move that Tien knew how to do.
Oh.
Like Tien's
Yeah.
school knew how to fly. He didn't know how to fly until he was going to be out of the ring, but then he learned how to fly last minute. I think it might have been with Tien.
Probably with Tien. I think I saw
Yeah.
a short flick.
Yeah.
That.
He was going to hit the ground and lose.
Mm-hmm.
At least with Tien, it was like, oh, who's the better school? And then Piccolo, at the end, he respected Goku, but he's still like, I'm going to kill you. And that's why in the very beginning of Z, he's like, oh, well, I developed this move to kill you. But that's why Gohan being the main character, like, AKA Piccolo is Gohan's real dad.
We can all agree on that, yeah.
People showed that one clip where Goku was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna let Gohan will unleash his anger on Cell. That's how we will win. And the Piccolo's like, you don't know your son at all. He's a scholar. He's not a fighter like you. He doesn't want to fight. Do you not understand that?
Yeah.
Although Goku was actually proven to be correct, but but that was the sad part. But
yeah.
But yeah, I think that. But yeah, the Piccolo and Gohan thing was great. Like, technically, Gohan's my favorite character,
Mm-hmm.
but I like Super Saiyan 3 Goku more. And obviously, Vegito is my favorite character.
Uh-huh.
And then Gohan is technically my favorite character, at least Buu Saga Gohan.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I watch it now, I still, unfortunately, I guess just like in Super, Gohan's development kind of got snapped in Buu. He didn't finish the job. But whatever, to me it's like, well, I got Vegito out of that. Or else Gohan would have killed him. And from what I heard in the interview, like, he wasn't sure who was going to kill Buu. So it could have ended with Gohan killing Buu.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was what you were asking, but
close enough. Mm-hmm.
You can say your favorite Dragon Ball character.
Okay. My favorite Dragon Ball characters from barely being integrated since like last year. I've never really been interested in Dragon Ball just because I always went to judge before I judge a book by its cover before I actually go into anything. But
don't tell me it's Jiren.
No.
Or Hit.
I mean, favorite. I have to say, my favorite character has to be Gohan. Just in the sense that he's for going through the shit that he went through as a kid, and just like Goku just not being there and not really being a good father. He turned out pretty well. He became like a good father. I mean, well, yeah, he became a good husband, a good father later on, and a good scholar too. But the one I can actually personally affiliate myself with would be Vegeta. Sadly enough to say, because I do have a short temper, just like he does.
You mean hashtag 80% of the fan base? I'm Vegeta.
No, it's not. It's not like lame like that. I mean, I don't want to judge, but it's more because I'm very prideful in a sense where like Vegeta hates to ask for help, and he's very hard on himself, and that's how I am. I mean, sadly to say, but it's funny because majority of the time Vegeta gets on my nerves because he's always babbling on about his same pride and about how he gets too full of himself. But he messes up and he makes so many mistakes, but that's where I mean I see myself in him. I'm like, yeah, I could get a little egotistical at times and prideful, but essentially we're always making mistakes and we're not always at the top of our game. So I personally affiliate myself with Vegeta, and I don't like that honestly. Like I just don't, but that's I mean it's a fact where I will be honest with myself. Like I out of all the characters, I feel myself with him most of the time. And it's pretty annoying because I mean it's like I can sometimes can't stand the stuff I do, and you know I mean and I like Goku just because he's like, he would be a person that he could like balance you out with a personality like him, or even Goku too. Like, shoot, he's so peaceful, and like Vegeta just can't stand him. But it's like, oh well, he kind of balances them out. So, that's what I have
Oh
to
yeah,
say
I
with that.
wanted to say that the new Broly is basically a dumber Goku.
Yeah, actually, they didn't want to really like be brutally honest, but you're actually right.
I mean, we'll see whether they go with him after this, but so far he's just a dumber Goku.
Basically,
So this is the track of Vegeta's arc, which I guess I never completely finished saying.
yeah.
Is that the Vegeta's after the Frieza saga, he's just like he begrudgingly, yes, I will be here and I won't kill anybody and whatever, so I can understand how Goku becomes powerful and trained and surpass him, and then I can do whatever I want.
Hmm.
And then after the Cell saga, he basically actually cared about his son. That was the big moment. That's the big character moment. Was
True. Yeah.
or he went after Cell basically.
Yeah.
That was when he finally realized that, or when Trunks was quote unquote dead or almost dead.
Yeah.
Like that was when he snapped and he realized that, oh, he actually cared about people. I guess by extension, we can only assume he cared about Bulma too, because in the beginning of that arc, he totally was just gonna let Bulma and his baby die.
Yeah.
And then after the end of Buu Saga, he learns to care about everybody basically,
Yeah.
and respect Goku. Finally, he was so frustrated with Goku in the beginning of the Buu arc. All he did was want to fight him. So finally, the one day I can fight him, and then Goku's being dumb.
Like,
I don't know. I don't know if you have more to say before I cut you off, but yeah.
no, you explained it pretty well. It just everything that you explained, I really do want to go back and just rewatch it again just to
Yeah.
have a better opinion on that for future
Yeah.
podcasts.
Yeah,
Because essentially
I
that's
would
all I just
recommend
said.
you watch the original Dragon Ball,
That
because
definitely for sure. Yeah, I've
yeah,
never
or
seen
at
it.
least read the manga because you'll be able to blaze through that in like 2 days.
It's
You could probably blaze through all of Dragon Ball in like 3 days if with reading the manga rather than watching the 150 episodes of Kai or the 200 episodes of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely think we'll touch the manga from when everyone was, yeah. I know like the anime is just the adaptation of the manga to promote it, but I think I will essentially touch the manga better just because I've heard so much more positive feedback with that than the animated series, sadly. But yeah, I'll definitely touch that.
the thing that I can't get away with, and that's why I don't care about manga in general as much as anime in general, is because I care about moving pictures. I care about sound design. I care about editing, cuts. I care about how they tell the story in a visual medium with audio and music. I love that music, that 80s music, along with the Japanese. You're missing all that when you're just reading the manga, unfortunately. Reading the manga is just much faster,
Hmm.
sadly.
Yeah.
Especially when Kai, like, I realized watching, I'm like, wait a minute, none of those music is in here. Because yeah, they replaced it with all the new music that I don't care about.
Mm.
It's like, oh yeah, that's why I don't feel as strongly about it.
Mm.
The last question I have: if you could do whatever you want for the next movie, Dragon Ball movie, what would you want?
That would be a tough question just because, actually, as we discussed earlier, I want more of a better script and story arc altogether. That needs to come back to the series just so there could be quality to the series again. Just I mean that was the whole point of Dragon Ball in the first place because you can personally affiliate with the characters and then of course like you said there are stakes of the characters that made it even better and it made you connect with the story That's one thing I would want in the next Dragon Ball movies. But as for characters,
Oh, sorry. One thing I want to add before.
yeah.
So one of the things watching through Dragon Ball first
Mhm.
and the Dragon Ball Z, the one thing that Super technically did correctly, or at least it didn't feel like, oh, they just made it up,
Mhm.
is that Goku, since Dragon Ball, has actually one of the main plot points when he fought Master Roshi as Jackie Chun, as he calls himself, or something like that.
Oh.
He wants to beat Goku because he wants Goku to know that there are stronger opponents out there.
Mhm.
There's always going to be someone stronger than him.
Mhm.
So in that context, to Super, yeah, so in the Dragon Ball Battle of Gods, yeah, Goku was like kind of cocky. He's like, yeah, I could go Super Saiyan 3, like, are you going to be able to beat me? And then totally completely got outclassed. But being able to look at Dragon Ball is like, that's the, and the other thing is that I guess one of the Endless Jest, when he rewatched it, he's like, yeah, Goku and Bulma are the main characters.
Mhm.
So that's the one context that they got right. But there's a reason why he ended it with Z. Whatever. But anyways, I don't know if that helps with your what you're saying right now, but I just wanted to say that before I forget.
Okay. Oh, that's good that you added that. That's all I have for what I would hope to have in the next Dragon Ball movie. After, I mean, since they recon Brawly, I don't know who they want to recon next. But if it was up to me, I would try to go for a different route, completely different. Maybe bring on a new enemy and just challenge, obviously, Goku's main character and then Vegeta. And I would definitely take on a new character. I just tired of new renditions of the same characters. As much as like Brawly could be different, I did like it. It's so, but it's still pretty fun to watch the Brawly rendition. But I really want them to take on a new character for the next Dragon Ball movie. That would be very, very fun and interesting to see what they have in store for the series.
We'll find out, I guess,
Hmm.
if you look back on it. Like, he retcons a lot of things, even Z. Like, apparently in the manga, like, it was Android, or no,
Hmm.
it was Android, the old guy and the other guy. Like, they were the actual androids he mentioned,
Hmm.
and then the editor was like, this is lame, man. You need to pick better people. That's why he switched it to the teens.
Hmm.
And then the other was like, this is just as lame. You need to pick a better character. And that's how he came up with Cell.
Oh.
And he was like, that design is terrible. And that's why he had to make Perfect Cell. So, it's always the editors challenging him. And you could say it's a part of the, if I was going to make a film,
Uh-huh.
like, ignore everything about Super. I know this is dumb, but whatever. Like, either you pull them from time or whatever it is. I would want Gohan to fight Kid Buu.
Hmm.
And I would actually want to see what happens there. And then I would obviously want Vegeta to go full on out that, or either go further back in time or just put completely new characters that are just in that setting, that maybe they meet Goku or something. So they're like kind of like Krillin level or whatever. So it's like you could still have some stakes,
Yeah.
Maybe Yamcha is like the ultimate cool guy because he's way more powerful than them,
Yeah.
I would have liked something like that, because we never got to, until Super ruined it, we never really got to see Vegeta full on out, and we never really got Gohan fighting Kid Buu. So, at least in the Z canon, and not all this blue haired, When I was watching it with my friend, when Vegeta came back, we were like, oh, it's cool. And then he watched it, he was like, this is literally the same as Dragon Ball Z. Like, what's the difference? Like, the powers, like, it doesn't matter. Like, and then he didn't even see all these other characters that is just like, they go Super Saiyan 1 and they're just as powerful as Goku and Super Saiyan Blue. Like, what? That makes no sense. Oh, gosh. Like, it was already a stretch that people are like, what the heck? Gohan just, like, powers up and he's not a Super Saiyan. He's just as powerful. He's way stronger than everybody else. Like, but that was like unique. That was the one time that somebody actually did that, and that was kind of cool.
Hmm.
But then now it's like everybody could just do whatever now, and it doesn't matter. Although, like I said, that other guy mentioned that, oh, well, that's why you have to use tactics now. But it's like, but Dragon Ball was never really about tactics.
Yeah.
And from what you're saying, you're not even really buying that either. Like I said, my biggest issue is that when it comes to like Jiren or whatever, the bigger fights, like, I don't feel like they were using that much tactics in those fights.
It was only just like one new tactic. Like, okay, this person had one skill. Like, okay, like in freeze time, or I have this spinning
Yeah.
thing, but that's it. Like, it wasn't really really completely tactful.
Did they come up with something to beat Hit that was clever, or it was just something dumb?
It was just it wasn't
Believe
clever.
harder? I
No,
don't
it
know.
actually wasn't clever at all. It was just the only thing that they did was just partner up for, I mean, I
Team
don't know.
tag him?
Yeah, like I
Oh,
don't know if
that's
the
lame.
spoilers, but
I mean, I don't care.
no, I mean for whoever has like seen it, but they didn't do anything clever now that I go back to that
Yeah.
fight. They
Yeah,
just,
didn't Jaren just like he was just so much more powerful
yeah, it
that
was just a,
he couldn't affect them? It
yeah.
was okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
lame.
it was just like he actually released his full on potential and power, and then Frieza and Goku were the last fighters standing. They wanted that's all they did was just, oh, let's do something new. Let's collaborate an enemy with, well two like fearsome enemies against one powerful person. That's it. But there wasn't really strategy or tactics, if I can recall correctly. It
Yeah.
wasn't.
It's like at least in Z, right? It's just like Goku and Vegeta working together. Even if they worked together to fight Buu, they probably couldn't beat him
Yeah.
working together. And that's why Vegeta's like use a spirit bomb.
Hmm.
Like yeah, it's just like I don't know. This is lame, but I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, all right. Well, any last thoughts?
Um, well, despite criticism, it's still a pleasure to watch Dragon Ball. Even aside our personal dislikes, I still enjoy the series, and I hope that it continues to just grow, but in a positive direction, not just for the sake of just adding characters and doing whatever you want. No, there has to be more quality and content to it, and I hope that happens soon with this new addition to what Brawley's movie is giving us. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm just at the. I consider the end of the story is Z, so anything else doesn't. I just get annoyed because of them retconning Vegito mainly and Gohan. But anything else is just like I don't care. I'll watch it if supposedly there's a cool fight or something. If Vegito comes back, I'll watch it, but I'll probably be disappointed.
Yeah.
But I mean, Gogeta's fight mostly satisfied.
Hmm.
That was a cool fight, but I don't think unless there's another movie that's gonna be like that, I don't think Vegito or anybody else is gonna have animation money to make a fight like that again.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah,
Well, here's
but
hoping.
I still felt like it was too short. But whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
guess that's it. Signing out.
All right.
Say bye. I guess
All
bye.
right. Signing off. Thank you for having me over your podcast.